so excited to introduce Manda Frederick. Manda is the Program Communications Manager for Women Who Code, with over 15 years experience writing, editing, teaching, and leading communications. Her very favorite thing is helping people express their ideas through writing. In her free time as a digital nomad, she likes to explore, as Mary Oliver says, leave some room in her heart for the unimaginable. I love that. So without further ado, I will now pass the mic over to Manda.
Thank you so much, Sapphire. I'm really thrilled to be here today. I have the great joy of working with Women Who Code and being able to use what I love to do, which is communications, to help empower all of you and to support the team, which is really exciting for me. So today, I'm really excited to share with you some things that mean a lot to me as far as communications and expressing your ideas and starting to build your portfolio and put your knowledge and expertise into writing so that you can share it with everyone else. So one thing I wanted to start with was one of my favorite poets is Margaret Atwood. A lot of people know her as a fiction writer, but she says a word after a word after a word is power. And I think that many of you and almost everyone has just such a diverse set of experiences and knowledge and things that brought you here on your journey that have value that other people would benefit from knowing about. And writing is one way that you can do that. And I'm going to talk today to you about how to get started on that process, because it can be a little intimidating. I think that if you're not really sure how publishing works or why maybe would I build my portfolio, but it's just, writing is the closest thing you'll ever do to a magic trick, in my opinion. So you just have this like whole life of experiences and this whole breadth and library of knowledge that just lives in your brain. And because you have the ability to access language, you can get it out of your brain and put it in front of other people, and they can access it. They can access your whole life and everything you've ever thought. It's actual magic. So I'm really excited today. By the end of the session, I hope that you'll feel empowered and excited to share your knowledge and expertise with the world. Understand how sharing and publishing your writing can benefit your career and your professional goals, and learn the basics of online publishing to get you started. I think that when you get going, if you're not really familiar with like how quote unquote publishing works, it can be kind of confusing. How do I start? Where do I submit? What do I need to pay attention to? And so I'm just going to show you some things that I wish I knew when I got started to make it easier for you so that you can accelerate this process. A few key terms just to get us started. When we're talking about professional portfolio, we're simply meaning that you've collected what you've created, what you've done, the work that you've accomplished, and you've put it together so someone else can look at it. That's really all we're talking about. And I think that it can be a little intimidating to build your professional portfolio. We use these terms, but really that's all it is. It's just kind of an elevated show and tell. It's just like, hey, look what I made. And so I'm going to encourage you today to start adding to your professional portfolio pieces of writing, and we'll talk about how to get started with that. Another term is publishing. So when we think about publishing, we think about novels maybe, or maybe like the news. And publishing is really just any time that you make your writing or work accessible to someone else. That's it. And so we have two kinds of publishing. We have traditional publishing, which is someone else hosts your work. Some other press publishes your book, right? Or like a Women Who Code, you submit a blog to Women Who Code, we publish it, we host it, we edit it. That's more traditional publishing. But with today's digital age, especially in technology, we also have self-publishing, which means you're the one who presents it. Maybe you don't host it. This could be on LinkedIn or Medium or Blogger. Someone else is hosting it, but ultimately you're the one who hits send, publish, upload, whatever the button says on that platform, even building your own website. So you have a couple of options, and we're going to talk about why you might choose one or the other, depending on your professional goals. And here also, as the presentation says, get starting with online tech writing. Here, I'm using this as an umbrella term for tech adjacent topics that would be interesting to people in the tech industry, because that's the goal here, is to empower you on that journey. But I want to clarify that a lot of what I'll say today would apply to any kind of genre. If you're a secret poet or you're planning to be the next big novelist or something, a lot of this would also work there as well. But here we're talking about tech writing. It's just topics that would be relevant to the technical audience and all of you here at Women Who Code. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out what motivates you to write or publish? Why are you interested in collecting your ideas and experience in writing and getting it in front of other people? So some reasons you might write or publish your knowledge: to become a better writer. Maybe you actually just want to become a better writer, and that's a perfectly good end goal. So the only way to become better is to practice, right? So if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to start a little blog or start sharing more lengthy articles on Twitter, LinkedIn. Nothing lengthy on Twitter is happening. It's only a few characters. But if you want to practice that, there's no better way than just to set goals for yourself to do it. So that's a perfectly good goal. To learn. A lot of people start publishing and start writing blogs, especially in tech, because they simply want a space to learn about something. So maybe Apple releases a new iteration of SwiftUI, or I don't know, maybe Android's doing something with machine learning and their mobile apps or whatever it is, and data science. And you're like, oh, I know that exists now, and I'm interested in learning about it. And so one way is to study it, learn it, and then to write about what you found, how it went for you, what the process was. Maybe your experience was different than the documentation that the Apple provided or something like that. And you can write about all of that. So a lot of people start to learn. And in fact, I used to manage book writers, the people who are writing the books on tech stuff. And a lot of times they would volunteer to write the book, even though they didn't know anything. They were iOS developers or whatever, but they didn't know about whatever it was that had come out. And so so they would ask, can I write the book because I want to learn it, which was a really good goal. If you simply want to share your knowledge, experiences, and opinions, like I'm giving this talk to you now, right? And you can do that through article. I just want to share. I want to share my experiences. I want to share my knowledge. And that's it. You're not looking for a big following or things, but it's a good place to start to just share what you know, which is a really good goal. To gain visibility as an expert or a thought leader. So you might find that if the more that you publish, the more people might start to recognize your name. Some of these names in tech that you might recognize would be like a John Sundell, right? John Sundell got popular because he decided to put together a newsletter and other kinds of communications. And that was really where he gained his traction to be visible, saying, oh, this person is an in-person who is curating interesting writing and publishing that to the tech community. So it's a good way to gain visibility. And so people will recognize your name in addition to being an expert with a different, like a technology or a tech stack. To be a change maker. So I want to revert back to that sort of Margaret Atwood's statement about words being powerful. And I know that we know that, but if you look at, for example, a lot of the work that Women Who Code do and the work that you're doing, a lot of it's communication driven, right? We are educating people and being advocates and being allies through language, through our social media, through our newsletter. Language is I would argue, one of the main ways that we empower all of you to go and be successful in your careers. And so you also have that ability. You also have the ability to change someone, change ideas, change the industry through your writing. And if that's something you're like, I really want to make an impact, writing is a good candidate to do that. If you want to build your portfolio, as we've talked about. So to be able to hand something to a potential employer, or to maybe if you're looking for a promotion, or you want to maybe change over to a different tech stack and say, like, here's a bunch of stuff I've learned and written about. Here's my experience, right? Here it shows that you can write, that you can research, that you can present ideas, that you can synthesize other resources. It shows a lot of skill to be able to hand someone a portfolio of your writing. So it's a really good candidate. A lot of people get paid for their ideas, even in self-publishing platforms like Medium. If you get enough followers, they start paying you to host your ideas. So it can be a nice way to supplement your income also to freelance and find opportunities to publish. A lot of places you'll just be publishing for the reasons that are listed above, right? But you can also get paid for your ideas. And some career flexibility. If you decide, I really love this, the way that I did, right? I have made my career based on communications, and a lot of people do that. And I know a lot of people who live the lifestyle I live, for example, which I live in Mexico as a digital nomad, and I haven't lived full-time in the States in 5 years. And I've been able to do that because I focused on career in communications and writing. And I know a lot of writers who know about tech or know about medicine or know about education. They know about something else, and they channel it into writing, and they're able to make a living while having a really flexible career, traveling, those sorts of things. So You know why you want to write, right? But now you have to figure out something to say. So that probably is the most intimidating part. So I just have a kind of a question. Yes or no, have you ever given a presentation or led a training? Have you ever helped someone with something technical? Maybe your coworker said, gosh, do you know how this new feature works? And you're like, yeah, I totally know how to do that. Let me show you how. Have you ever learned a new technology or a stack, right? Have you ever had an opinion about the tech industry, right? Someone published something about ChatGPT or like AI, and you're like, I don't agree with that, or I agree with that, but for a different reason. Have you ever gotten a job or been promoted in tech? Right? Have you ever faced a challenge and overcome it, right? Like your career in tech impacted your personal life, or maybe your personal life impacted your career. And I'm actually not sure how to see the chat. I'd be curious to know if yes, exactly. I knew that the answer would be yes, because you're all really diverse, interesting, smart people doing super cool stuff. And I think something that happens is you see a lot of online writing and it seems far away, like who would want to hear about my ideas? But the fact is all of you have a lot of really diverse experiences that you can put in to writing and share with other people. You absolutely have something of value to contribute to other people. So we have this analogy like in publishing called like the cocktail party analogy, where you imagine that you enter a cocktail party, or it could be any kind of party if you want to, if it's whatever it can be. So you go into Chuck E. Cheese, you do whatever you're doing. So you walk in and you don't just walk up to someone and immediately start talking, right? You don't, or start communicating with them. And you say, well, I have an opinion about something. You don't do that. You also don't hear someone say something and just repeat exactly what they said back to them. That also makes no sense. All communication is, we say, discursive, or it's like a conversation, right? So what you want to do is you want to enter the party, and the first thing you're going to do is listen. What are people talking about? What's relevant? What questions are they asking? What concerns are they expressing? What do they need help with, right? What opinions do they have? What debates are going on? And then after a while, after listening, then you figure out, oh, I have something to say about that, or I disagree, all right, or I agree, or that's interesting, but have you read this other resource, right? Think about how you converse with people. Actually, publishing is exactly the same and writing is exactly the same. So what you would do, to extend the analogy, is you would read current blogs, hop on the Women Who Code blog, or the tech section of Medium, or Hashnode, or SweetCode, or even actually Twitter is a good space for this because it's so dialogic. People are talking back and forth, retweeting, adding to the conversation, and you can figure out what are people interested in knowing about right now? What questions are they asking? What technologies are emerging that we can contribute to, or that we can have commentary on, or that we need to learn? And those are really good candidates. Just a little bit of time reading will give you a good idea of what is something that you could write to contribute. So again, you wouldn't just copy someone's idea or say something that made no sense in the conversation, right? So if you're ever stuck, just start reading, and that's a really good place to find an idea. So coming up with something to write. So I really great. I love your analogy, Manda, but do you have any concrete tips on actually how to do this? So something that you can do is you can share something that you've recently learned, right? Something that you've recently learned. You can just show people how you walk through it. Apologize for my ableist language, how you went through the process of learning it. You can turn something else you've done into an article or a blog, right? You can focus on your personal experience or opinion. And I want to backtrack on this, turn something else you've done into an article or blog. So if you ever made a presentation slide deck, if you've ever given an interview, if you've ever done something else that isn't an article, you can take all that same writing and structure and turn it into an article very, very easily. So you can focus on your personal experience or opinion. You can respond directly to something someone else has said or written. So someone has an opinion about AI, you disagree, that's a good candidate for an article. You can combine research or resources in an interesting way to make a new synthesis of ideas. So those are like those top 10s or five, whatever. A lot of times they're just grabbing a bunch of different resources and putting them together in an interesting way in one space so that people can access them. And you can translate something you already published into a different language for a different audience. You'll have to Google a little bit the permissions for your country and that publication. But something you can do is introduce a whole new audience to a piece of writing that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access. Some examples from the Women Who Code blog to show you what I mean. You can read through these to maximize your tech potential, embrace learning, build connections, and elevate your career in ChatGPT. The power of emojis and subverting racial assumptions in digital space, making the most of mentorship, how tech bro culture contributes to widening gap in the tech industry, exciting new features in the Google material design, what to consider before accepting a job offer. So all of these people said, I have something to say, but it's my own twist on it, right? Here's my experience. Here's what I found. Here's how I'm putting these ideas together. So then you'll want to find places to submit. So you want to focus on two things. Where you publish or host your writing should align with your why. So if you just want to, again, share your ideas, work on better on writing, things like that, it's going to change where you publish, right? And focus on fit, meaning find a good platform or a good publication that makes sense for what you have to contribute to the conversation, right? So for self-publishing, Women Who Code self-publishes. We self-publish on our own blog. We self-publish. Here's an example of an article on LinkedIn. So your why would be if you are interested in sharing ideas, becoming a better writer, and learning, self-publishing is great. You can just go ahead and upload your own writing today. And some benefits of that is you can get started immediately and you control your own work and pace, right? So you'll always own your work. It's yours. It's however you want it to be. So some examples of where you could get started with that would be like LinkedIn posts, blogging platforms like Medium, WWCode, Hashnote is a great one for devs, WWCode is for devs, or you can build your own website to either publish your own articles or link to articles that you're that you're publishing somewhere else. Traditional publishing, Women Who Code is also a traditional publisher, as an example. So we self-publish our own writing from Team Teal Global, but we also host publishing. So if you submit to the Women Who Code blog, we look at it, we edit it, we accept it, we publish it, right? So why, if you're interested in becoming a thought leader, making change, getting paid, career flexibility, if the resource pays, benefits are a larger audience. More people will read your work. Editorial support, we do look at it and make sure that it's clean, free of errors, things like that, and a little more authority that someone else has accepted your work and published it. So those would be online sites, journals, or blogs that you did not create or host. So finding places to submit is super easy. You can simply Google call for submission plus keyword, right? So call for submission technology articles on tech. DEI articles, career articles. I'm sorry, I didn't turn off my thing. So you can actually find a super easy way to find these sorts of opportunities for you. Fourth, get organized. I'm just going to go through these really briefly so we have some time for some questions. So you need to create a method for tracking your submissions, rejections, and acceptances. So it could be an Excel sheet or a simple Google document, but don't skip this step because you need to keep track of where you've submitted and the publications that you've had or that you're doing for your portfolio or your resume. You'll make yourself crazy trying just to remember it. So just go ahead and get organized right away. It'll also help you resubmit to places that passed on a previous piece. So again, it's all about fit. Just because you submitted something once and it didn't get accepted doesn't mean they wouldn't accept something else that you wrote. And also to help you follow the submission guidelines. Submission guidelines are requirements that the publisher requires to look at your work. So they might say have some formatting, length, topic, content requirements. Don't ignore those. Sometimes places don't accept simultaneous submissions. And this is a term meaning they only want to be the ones looking at your piece. They don't want you to have your piece out to a bunch of other places for consideration at one time. Not previously published. Women Who Code doesn't accept previously published work, which means it has to appear first on Women Who Code and nowhere else. Some places don't mind. They accept previously published pieces, and that's fine. Reading windows, pay attention to if they're actually even looking at pieces right now. Women Who Code has a rolling open period, which means we look at submissions all year. Some places have a closed reading period, so pay attention because if they're not even looking at pieces, don't waste your time. And some places don't accept unsolicited submissions, which means you have to be invited to submit. Women Who Code accepts these, which means anyone can submit if you're a member and you're relevant to the audience, right? But pay attention to these key terms. Fifth, this is just one slide. Prepare a short cover letter, third-person bio, and headshot. You're probably going to need these. These are just for any kind of professional submission, so just make sure you have it ready to go. Finally, submit to polish your piece. Just make sure it's clean, free of errors, or you're using some good online resources that are even free, like Grammarly, things like that. And finally, submit and submit often. I would really encourage you to just keep submitting. When I'm in a submission period, I'll submit maybe 5 to 10 places a month, and almost always something gets accepted. If you have something to say, it's well written, and you're paying attention to fit, you will get published. It's a numbers game, and so if you take the time to submit, you'll probably have good success. Some don'ts really quickly. Don't think you don't have something of value to share. I really feel strongly about that. Don't think your words don't have power, so do be responsible. It will, again, it's a magic trick that the people will absorb your ideas and you'll change them forever. So pay attention to that. Don't ignore fit when submitting. So again, make sure that it's a good audience, it's a good topic. Don't ignore submission guidelines. Don't get discouraged if a piece is rejected. It's super normal for a piece to get rejected, meaning they pass on it, and that's okay. Submit it somewhere else. It's probably going to be a good fit somewhere. And the final sort of thing that I wanted to encourage you to do was to submit to the Women Who Code blog. So we do accept unsolicited submissions from our members on topics related to technologists. And if you're looking for a good place to get started, I would recommend getting started as a member with our blog. But again, that's more traditional publishing. We'll look at it and support it. But I also encourage you to get started with self-publishing as well. And I would be excited to take any questions or hear any thoughts that you had to say.
Thank you so much, Manda. I would love to be a better writer, and I felt so inspired by your talk. We see a lot of people in the chat thanking you for this amazing talk as well. I have a couple questions for you, Manda. So what happens if my piece keeps getting rejected? What should I do?
Yeah, I would say if your piece keeps getting rejected, I would check the fit, make sure that you're sending it to places. And I've had most of my success publishing by specifically finding things that were publishing about what I was writing about. So let's say I mostly publish in creative writing and all transparency, except for the work I do with Women Who Code. So for example, let's say I finished a group of poems about water. I would be like, call for submissions, poems about water, and you would be surprised. People are like, anthology on water, accepting submissions. So that's most of mine is just finding the right place. I would check that. And then I would also check to make sure that the piece is clean, free of errors. I would have someone else look at it. There are a lot of online writing groups to support writing. People love to help in this community. And I would, at that point, have someone else look at it. And the third thing you can do is you can always contact the editor and say, hey, I wondered if you would be open to giving me any feedback on why you didn't accept this piece. Okay, so I see a question here. So I'm sorry to take your job, Sapphire. So, all right, who would you ask to edit your submission? A friend, colleague, Women Who Code member? If it's a technical piece, which is what we're vying for here, I wouldn't recommend like having your mom look at it or something. I would have someone in this space who maybe has some knowledge, have a look at it, and someone you think is a good communicator. I think that's really the main thing. And really what you're looking for is to have someone ask to have a look at it and say, is this interesting? Does this seem relevant right now? And is it well written? And someone that you trust to give you a valuable opinion that you think is already, they don't have to be a good writer, but they have to be a good communicator, and probably someone in the tech space. So Women Who Code community, maybe we should get a writing group started. That could be fun. But the Women Who Code community could really be a good start there as well.
Thanks, Manda. I love that idea about starting a writing group. Jian, I hope I'm pronouncing your name okay, asked, how did you get started?
Yeah, so I've just always loved writing. Words are my very favorite thing for the duration of my entire life. And so I went to graduate school for writing. I had my MFA in nonfiction, and then I did another graduate degree in more pedagogy because I wanted to be a teacher. So I actually taught writing at the university level for a few years. And I love to teach. I'm really happy to be here with you all. But I realized like just making communication was really what made me happy. So around the age of 30, I left academia and I've just stayed in publishing since then. So I came to Women Who Code last year because I wanted to start using my skill for change and to support a mission. So I left my last company to come here specifically to start that. So it's a really quick recap of my journey, but it's kind of always been with me, but I just really followed my career path that served, how do I keep using this thing that I love to do, but in a way that feels meaningful to me.
Great. We have another question there. How do you ask for help without feeling like you're wasting their time?
Yeah, I would say I would challenge you to ask yourself, what's wrong with taking someone's time, right? So we're in a collaborative community. I'm giving my time to you now. Sapphire is giving it to me. But every time someone answers a question or gives a presentation, we're all giving time all the time. So I would say just put yourself in a community of people where you have true collaboration, and it's never going to feel like a waste, and it's never going to feel like a burden. And if you feel that way, I would encourage you to this isn't really the answer to your question, but I would just encourage you to find people that emotion doesn't solicit in you, because it is not a problem to take time from people, because I'm sure you're giving it to them as well.
Thanks. And then Anna just asked, any resources on practicing writing if we don't do it often?
Yeah, I think the best thing that you can do if you want to become a better writer is to read. Read the kinds of things that you want to write. So if you're interested in writing 300-word blog articles on tech, get into the Women Who Code blog, start reading, and that's the really best way. And then there are resources like Grammarly and things like that that will support you. But even honestly, asking like a chat GPT to say like, hey, can you write an article about all of these sorts of things, and see what it does. See what it produces, because it's a smart machine, right? So you can I would always say, if you want to become a better writer, model good writing, and you'll do that by reading and studying it.
I love that. Thank you. And then Rita asked, is there a universally suggested style guide that you recommend for tech writing at the minute? For example, AP Styles, Chicago, etc. Or is it specific to each type of platform? Thank you.
Yeah, I would find the industry like in academia, they use Chicago, or sometimes they use MLA. It just depends. But I would say AP is a good go-to. So I would say if you're like, I just want to style everything consistently, Women Who Code tends to lean on AP. We don't have an official style guide in that way, but we tend to lean on AP, I've noticed. So AP is a really good place to start. And so that's for anyone who doesn't know what a style guide is, that's how you should be formatting things. Should you capitalize things here? How should you use punctuation? And AP style guides are a really good start.
Great. And Muskin asks, hello, thank you for your presentation. How does writing blogs help in getting a job?
Yeah, I would say the main thing that it does is it's like any kind of project-based work. It shows that you can do something. You hand someone something and you say, look, these are some articles I've produced that show that I can learn. I'm a self-motivated learner, that I can put my ideas into writing, that I can coordinate and outline concepts, that I can organize thinking, that I can research it. Being able to hand someone writing that you've done, that's a result of your experiences and knowledge. It's just a way of being able to show them in a really easy way what you can do and the things that you know.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you. How would I present my writing in my own portfolio?
Yeah,
Goodness,
so if
I'm
you wanted
starting.
to show your writing portfolio, so what I traditionally have done, if I thought that my pieces were going to be important, so you can do two things on your resume. For example, you can simply link your portfolio of writing. So you can say portfolio of writing, right? Or portfolio of projects, or portfolio of learning, however you think you want to say it. You can just link it, and then they can go build a little website, or you can add them on a GitHub repo. There's a lot of ways that you could host them, or you can just actually list them out. I would say recent publications is how I normally put it on my it's on my LinkedIn like that, for example, recent publications, and it just lists where and what, so the person can find it.
Great, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Manda. And I feel so inspired, definitely to start writing more blogs. I used to love doing it in the past, but after watching your presentation and it's just really inspired me to start writing again. I feel really lucky to be working with you as well and learning from you every day. So thank you so much, Manda. And thanks everyone for your amazing questions. You've all been great participants today. So have a great day at Block Data Pi, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon in the chat. Thank you so much again, Manda.
Bye, everyone.